Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I am delighted that you're with us today. Oh, my dear friends, the best thing for me about doing these weekly podcasts, other than the fact that you're willing to join me here, is that I have made so many wonderful friends this way. And our guest today is another one of those special friends that I met in the course of doing this work. He is the delightful TJ Woodward. And now he's an old friend of mine, although he's not so old, but our friendship is old at this point. He's someone I've come to think of as kind of a public visionary. His calling has long been to help people who have substance abuse issues, and that kind of help is pretty big help, and it extends now to other kinds of problems people have. I first met and interviewed TJ about 10 years ago, right after I had read his first really terrific book. It's called Conscious Being: Awakening to Your True Nature. I saw that book as fundamentally my own liberating Jesus, but it's based in Eastern religious teachings and not in the teachings of Jesus, which I thought was a great idea because some people have been so traumatized, frankly, by the fear-based nature of modern Christianity, not by Jesus at all, of course, but by some of the Roman Emperor Constantine's teachings as they're used in modern Christianity, sad to say. Some people, therefore, don't really want to think about Christianity now, even though, of course, everything Jesus himself actually taught is wholly love-based. So now they can hear those very same truths from TJ Woodward's wonderful work instead. TJ's second book was Conscious Recovery: A Fresh Perspective on Addiction. His third book was Conscious Creation: 5 Steps in Embracing the Life of Your Dreams. Oh, my friend TJ Woodward is the creator of the Conscious Recovery Method, which is trademarked now. It's a groundbreaking and quite effective approach to viewing and treating addictions. And he's the creator of and host of, or was at one time, I'm not sure if still doing this, of the Awakened Living TV and Awakened Living radio shows. TJ is literally a ball of fire. TJ, welcome. I'm so glad you're back with us again.
Oh, thank you, Roberta. I don't know what number this is for our interviews, but I know that I absolutely love being in conversation with you. So I'm grateful to do this once again with you. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. I'm excited for our talk.
Oh, so it's the seventh. I keep track. This is our seventh interview. So
Wow.
you have a new cover on your first book. Show us the new cover.
Yeah, that all my books have new covers now. This is the new cover to Conscious Being, and then my other two books are right here behind me,
Well, they have
Conscious.
your lovely face on them
They have
all.
my lovely
That's
face on it. I decided to go that route after the books that have been published now, 2015, 2017, and 2021 was when they all came out originally. So it's
so
time for a refresher.
what do you do? Because I get your thought for the day, and I'm always eager to find those and read those. But what are you up to now?
You know, one of my greatest passions now is helping people who work in the addiction treatment field or in behavioral health. It can be a field that has a high degree of burnout. And I think if you only work from the clinical perspective, in other words, if you only look or work or primarily work from the mind, it can be really depleting. So, conscious recovery really is a philosophical framework to help clinicians and healers of all types do their own healing so that they can be more available and more connected and more present with clinicians or with their clients. Because I actually think this work can be energizing rather than depleting. And, we see people burnt
Wow.
out. So, that's my greatest passion this year.
Wow. So helping people who are in so much pain that they're addicts now and they have all these problems can be energizing. Wow.
It can be energizing if we come from the conscious or spiritual approach as well as the other, right? We talk about holistic healing, and holistic healing to me is actually really simple. It's addressing healing from the four rooms: physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. So when we drop into the spiritual room and we really connect on a soul level with someone, the key is they do their own healing and we observe, witness, and help guide them through that, which is really different than you're broken and I'm here to fix you. Of course, we're burnt out if we're doing it that way.
Wow. That is profound. Yeah, you're broken. I'm here to fix you. You're gonna wear yourself out pretty fast. I can.
Very fast. Yes, absolutely. And I've seen it time and time again. And I've experienced it myself. And I remember when I first started working at an addiction treatment center, we had 48 clients, and this was in 2008. And I remember walking in one day, and it's a beautiful property, and the gates opened. And I thought, if I believed that there were 48 broken humans on the other side of this gate, and my job was to fix them, I would be depleted too within an hour or two. And I
Yeah,
can walk out after 8 hours feeling energized and enthusiastic. What is that about? And what is mine to do in terms of bringing this to more people to help them be more effective in their work, but also energized?
so when people are addicted, they're not broken,
Right.
really. What is it that makes them addicts? Why do they become addicts then?
Well, I think this is a big question because I can tell you what the party line is. The party line is it's a disease. I think it's a response to pain. I think it's a response to unresolved trauma, spiritual disconnection, and toxic shame. In my book, Conscious Recovery, I identify those as the three root causes. The
Right,
term addict or addicted or, alcoholic, all of those terms, I really kind of don't prefer to use them because we all have things inside of ourselves at some point in our lives that feel out of balance, and we're looking outside of ourselves to try to heal that. And any of that, anything we use in that way that becomes repetitive, we could consider an addiction.
right, absolutely. So it's something that feels out of balance in yourself, and you're looking for a way to bring it into balance, and you're looking for that way outside of yourself.
Yeah. And if you go back to the conversation we were having about liberating Jesus and conscious being, the message that we received for both of those books, or, whether that's from our inner wisdom, from guidance,
Mhm.
combinations of, you use the teachings of Jesus. I use a lot of different things on my spiritual path,
Right. Oh,
including, like
that's
you
a
said,
great book. It's a great
yeah.
book.
And it's that we are whole and complete, that we are infinite beings, that we're literally a spark of divinity. And so to know that we're a spark of divinity is to know that we are whole and complete and don't need anything outside of ourselves to complete us. So that is really the basis of conscious recovery too, that we're not broken or damaged or that we're diseased or defective. We are actually infinite, but we have put all kinds of stuff on top of that, and many of us have forgotten that simple truth.
The deeper we go inside, the more whole we really are.
That's right.
Isn't that beautiful?
It
So
really,
that's how you try to help the people that you're trying to help.
yeah. Is that as a starting point to understand how infinite we really are, or how powerful we really are. And in a lot of recovery circles, they're like, you must admit you're powerless. And I understand why they're saying that. And I understand that there's a surrender that many people need to make in order to change their life. But the real surrender is a surrender to knowing that we are infinite, that we're highly capable, that we're intuitive, that we're actually quite beautiful, that we're the frequency of love. And that, just hasn't been the common sort of paradigm or narrative in recovery
Why
circles.
not? Because that strikes me as very important, actually.
Yeah. I'm for once in my life, I'm slightly speechless, Roberta. Because we
Wow.
know if someone's experiencing shame, I feel broken, I feel damaged, and I'm using my body like this because people are so energetically restricted and constricted, right? And to add shame to that, yes, you're broken, yes, you need to surrender, yes, you're defective, yes, you need this tough love thing. It's like we're just adding more shame to it. And I
Yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
why, but it doesn't really heal anyone.
No, no, no. You're right. I'm sort of speechless too.
We,
Because those teachings should be empowering.
right.
I mean, it is kind of like what's being done to the country today, which we were talking about ahead of time. Um, and neither political party is right. I think they're both equally wrong. And that's the problem, probably, and how we got into this mess. They neither have the right answers.
Yeah, and when I look at our country currently, we are being told we're living in a polarized country, and of course there is plenty of evidence to support that. I also think deeper than that, we've been conditioned to have polarized thinking. We don't come into the world with that kind of judgment or bias
No,
or
no,
against
not at
or
all.
for. We get taught that, right? So depending on where you were born, what your family system is, what socioeconomic status, your race, all the different things, we have a collective story. And part of that collective story is to look at the world as us and them and good and bad and right and wrong. And that's the disease that creates where we're at right now. And I know we can heal it, but we don't heal it from the outside in. We've been trying that for, in this country, over 200 years. We're coming up on 250, but in this world for thousands of years. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't work.
No, not at all. I don't get involved in politics, but I mean, you can't avoid it. It's in your face all the time. And I've been curious to try to understand, just understand what's going on because it's all so awful. And I sort of go back to when I was younger and try to understand when it went wrong.
Mm,
And I think that the person who's with whose political thinking there are two I most align. And one is was a Democrat, and one was a Republican. They're both dead now. Three.
mm,
One was a Democratic Republican.
mm.
So I guess I'm really in the middle, kind of.
There you go.
The Democratic Republican was Thomas Jefferson,
Right.
and the Democrat was JFK,
Mm,
and who I just cried my eyes out when he died.
mm,
And the Republican was Ronald Reagan.
mm,
And believe it or not, they were almost identical in their
mm.
political thinking, those three. And nobody really is aligned with with any of the three of them now.
Well,
So,
I think what we see happening, I mean, it's obviously a multi-layered conversation that we could talk about for hours, but I want to get to the root of it in my experience. And this is true for me. It might not be true for someone else, but what I see is there is a deep amount of wounding that people have experienced, right? We have, whether that's trauma. We come into the world without these judgments or these ideas of separation. We come into the world, as a matter of fact, if you look at a pre-programmed human, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, they are everything that people want in a spiritual practice or therapy or recovery. They're able to feel their feelings. They love fiercely. They're just wide open.
oh
They
yes.
connect, right? So that means what that means to me is that's innate in the human experience. And then we start getting taught different ideas. But deeper than that, we have these wounds. And I'll speak from my own story. I had a lot of different wounds and I felt broken. And once I felt broken, I saw the world as broken. And then I wanted the world not only to fix me from this sense of brokenness, but I also thought the solution was to change the world. And that's just maybe what we do in our 20s. It's what I did in my 20s. I was a fierce advocate for changing the world and I was in a fight. And I just see that really intensified right now. And I understand it and I have compassion for it. That when we really sit down with someone and ask, what do you most desire? If they allow themselves to go through all the layers, it's always love and connection. We all
Yeah,
desire that. And we
yes.
all just have different ideas about how to create it.
But how does the government help that creation, that love and connection, that how does the government encourage that as
Well, I'm
opposed to causing separation among people?
well, I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I don't know if the government can do that. And that's the
It has to get
great
out of the way,
obsession.
though, doesn't it? How
What's
does the
that?
doesn't it have to get out of the way then, if it can't help?
Well, it would be great if it were to do that. but I am going to operate under the assumption that they're not. So, how do I create freedom in my own life? And through having freedom in my own life, I get to share that with another and create more love and connection. The deeper healing isn't the government's job, right? Lao Tzu said that 25, well, how 3,000 years ago. Lao Tzu was on the planet a long time ago. And Lao Tzu said,
Well,
the greatest gift I can offer the world is my own transformation, right? My own healing. Jesus
yes,
said,
isn't
all
that
the masters have
beautiful?
said that,
Yeah.
all the great
Yes,
teachers.
yes, yes. Yeah, you've done quite a lot of studying of the Eastern traditions, haven't you? I see that in your daily quote, and I recommend that people that are listening to us just subscribe to you to get your daily quotations, which are quite wonderful. I love receiving those every day.
Thank you, Roberta.
That's great. That's great to get those. But right now, we are hopelessly divided, and the tragedy of that is that everyone, I think, wants just about exactly the same things in their lives. If when surveys are done, they really don't want very different things. They want the same things. They want to be left alone. They want to be allowed to keep their own money and do with it what they like. They want to keep their own space and do with it what they like. They want to be able to choose who they love. They want to be able to choose how they, live their lives, just to be at peace. Everybody wants all the same things.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Americans, people in the United States, the number one thing they wanted is safety. And the issue is for some, safety is let's have more guns and build more walls. And for others, it's let's tear down all the walls and get rid of the guns, right? But the essence of that is the same. Now, I'm not saying don't vote your conscience. I'm not saying government doesn't have a role. I'm not saying we don't want to be activists or advocates for what we want to create in the world, because obviously there's a place for that. I look at Jimmy Carter, who after his presidency did so much to help people, right? And I don't know if he was a great
A lot of
president. I was too
building. Yeah,
young. I was
yeah.
too young to know if he was a good president. I know what my dad thought of him, but he did stand for peace. I will say that. But what he did to help others in Habitat for Humanity and building homes, like that's honorable, right? And so government has a place, action has a place, but when we are coming from a place, when I am coming from a place that I am broken and I see the world is broken, and therefore the world needs to change in order for me to be happy, that is a trap, right? Because if I decide, as many have, I cannot possibly be happy if this certain person is president, I will suffer. Buddha told us that the root of suffering is attachment. It's clinging and aversion. Once this person's in office, then I can be happy. I have been around long enough to know that people have said it's this one person, and once they're out of office, I can be happy. Well, the day after that, there's something else to be unhappy about. So it's a nuanced conversation, but it's an important one because freedom comes from within. And then we actually can create change in the world, not based on what's broken and how we fix it, but about how we're being in the world and what we're sharing in the world. And if you really, as you said, Roberta, at the root, we all do want the same thing.
And because what we want has to do with our own sense of what will make us feel safe, what will make us feel at peace, what will make us feel free. And it's something different than what would make you feel safe, comfortable, and free. He governs best who governs least.
Mm,
Someone said that. I can't remember which. It was one of the founding fathers. They really felt strongly that the government had to be doing as little as possible to get in the way, just because everyone has a different sense of what will make him feel comfortable, safe, secure, and so on. So we need to stay within our own fences, on our own farmstead. Jefferson thought everybody ought to be a farmer because then he would have his own space, and
mm.
that's what he thought. I mean, he had his own sense of things. But I think that the problem lately has been that people have had a few people, or probably a lot of people, have had such a strong sense that they knew what was best for everybody. And that's just not true, because other people had their own strong sense of what was best for everybody. So why don't we pull in our own sense of what's best for everybody and let everybody else feel good about their own sense and live
Yeah.
within their own space? Don't
Yeah. And I mean,
do
obviously,
that.
we're not in an era where we can all be farmers. It's a lovely idea, and I think I understand what that is. It's like the being connected with
Yes, he was.
earth,
Let's just say he was a little bit of an idealist. Let's just he was
and
not,
definitely a few more
he was
people on
not too
planet Earth.
practical about that. Yes,
But
yes.
when we look at, because I want to be clear, I'm not here actually to talk about politics because it's not really my conversation. I think politics is what it is, and I think it has a place. And again, I'm not saying because people
It's
sometimes will
overwhelming
listen.
now, though,
Well,
TJ.
and
What do we
people will
do about it?
hear through their lens, and someone hearing this conversation through the lens is might be hearing me or us say it doesn't matter or it's not important. That's not at all what I'm saying.
No, it
What
isn't.
I'm saying is the divisiveness that has been created comes out of our own wounding and it gets externalized in the idea that everyone needs to sort of do it the way I see it needs to be done. And if you don't, then I suffer, right? And as soon as I have a judgment, there within that is the seed of revenge and retaliation and othering. And what happens is then we find a group of people who agree with us and we create coalitions, right? Those can be called religions or political parties or
Mhm.
clubs. But the
Yep.
issue with that is then groupthink takes over, and then we're no longer thinking for ourselves, even though we think we might be. So it's like we're looking to see what other people in our group are saying and unconsciously going into an agreement of that. And quite frankly, that's dangerous because we are no longer thinking for ourselves. And that was very pronounced for me in 2020. I wasn't agreeing with everyone who I had affiliated with on every single topic. And I started to question my own reality, which, by the way, that's what we want to do, seek reality, but not the reality that's being told to us, but the reality that lives within us.
Right, right. Well, so how do you help people find when they're all tied up in knots about this stuff? I mean, I just tell people, let it be and try to find your own peace in your own peaceful place. I find my peaceful place by trying not to pay attention to it because somehow I've managed to survive this long without having a politics. And somehow the world got along just fine without my injecting my nose into it. So I think that's been a good thing. But
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because someone listening or watching, and I've been told this many times, are you just burying your head in the sand? And it's not about burying my head in the sand, but it is about realizing that what I put into my consciousness is what I experience, right? So someone said to me, well, if you're enlightened, and I told you this before the show started, but if you're enlightened, you can watch the news without getting quote unquote triggered. Well, yes, and if I'm enlightened, I can drink poison and hope not to die. But what is happening in the news now, and we can go down a whole, road of that,
uh,
that it's no longer, it's now based on making money. The news stations are no longer non-biased. They don't even pretend to be anymore. So if you
no,
turn
that's
on Fox and
true.
CNN, you're hearing two different points of view, and that's part of the issue. I would say turn that off, unplug from that, start looking at inner wisdom, and as we do the deeper healing of our own wounds and remember who we are, we're less in the fight.
But when I realized that I am actually a Democratic Republican who would belong to the party of JFK, Ronald Reagan, and Thomas Jefferson, and that party doesn't exist. I don't know who to vote for. And that party doesn't exist. So I don't know. I think I should vote, but I don't, there's no candidate like that. So what do you do?
And how do we actually know, right? So I think that's a an important decision that everyone must make. But I want to be clear, that's not really what I'm here to talk about because I don't know that there's a solution there. What I really want to
But what do
focus
you tell
on.
people? People must ask you because you're such a wise, smart guy. I mean, that's how I think of you. I think of you as sort of a thought leader.
Oh, thank you.
This is what's going on. I'd like to get back to talking about what you do for a living because you do such wise, smart, thought leader guy stuff for a living. But this has been so much on my mind because people ask me about it because I'm supposed to have answers and I don't have an answer to this question. And I figured out there's no political party for anyone like me. I sort of said, huh? I don't know what to do. There's supposed to be parties for everybody, and there isn't one for me for sure.
Yeah, I think from the perspective of how can I be at most peace and how can I actually contribute? How can I be a beneficial presence on planet Earth? And if I believe I am my opinions and my thoughts, every teacher, every spiritual teacher in some way says the moment we realize we have thoughts, but we're not our thoughts, right? I'm not my opinions. And if I believe I am my opinions, then I'm going to naturally not feel connected to the people around me. That does not mean I'm going to agree with everyone who I meet. Roberta, I'm sure if we have conversations, we're going to not agree on things, but we can stay connected at a soul level because we know at a soul level we are beyond that. If that sounds esoteric to someone, or if that sounds like, well, how is that practical? I'll give how it's practical. Do I want to be at peace or do I want to be at war? And people say, yes, but these things are happening and we need to fight.
Right.
Great. That's great if
That's a
that's your
huge
point of
but.
view, but we're going to create more violence on planet Earth. Is that what
That's
we want? If that's
no.
what we want, keep doing it. But if we want a different way, and that's really, again, what all the great teachers have taught us is how to unplug. Jesus said probably one of the most, or has said to have said, one of the most profound statements I've ever heard, and that is be in the world, but not of it.
Of the
This is
world, yes.
exactly what we're talking about. Being of the world is you're different than me because of the color of your skin or where you live or your political affiliation or your religion.
Yes.
Being of the world is that, but being in the world and of spirit is to know I
Yes.
am beyond
Oh,
that.
so
And when we
perfectly
get
said, my
that,
dear. Yes.
thank you. That's
All
really
right.
it.
So let's get back to what you're doing. You have discovered that the way that they were talking to and treating these people with addictions and making them crumble into little insecure balls of uncertainty by telling them they had to own the negativity that was causing their problems to begin with. That wouldn't work in very well, right?
Yeah, and I want to be clear, it doesn't mean people aren't accountable for their behavior. I think, again, we kind of can have polarized thinking on this. I'm either seeing you, I'm loving you, or I'm judging you, but it's not really necessarily, of course, it's about love, but it is also I need to be accountable for my behavior. But when we do it from a shame perspective, in some recovery circles, it's like you have character defects. What is defective
Yeah,
about you? List all those defects, right? But the deeper thing for me is when we tell someone they have a chronic lifelong illness that can never be healed,
yeah, that's awful.
it's going to keep someone stuck. And I understand the spirit of that because listen, I got sober myself in 1986, and to hear it was a disease was refreshing for me at the time because I thought I was a bad person. So it was a step, and it was a step in consciousness in 1935 when Alcoholics Anonymous started and said you're not a bad person, you have a disease. Now we're evolving to say, even if it is a disease, let's just say it is. I don't know if it is, but let's say it is. We now understand that we can heal disease in a different way than we once believed. We know we can change the
You can
brain.
get better. A disease is
Yes,
good. You can get better from a disease.
you sure can, right? But that's not the narrative. The narrative is you can never heal it, but only treat it. And that's the fundamental issue. It's a chronic lifelong illness, or it's a biological disorder, we would say in the clinical setting That may be true on some level, but it's not the ultimate truth. It's not the ultimate truth of who and what we are.
I think they should tell people you can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. You can empower yourself to do and be all.
Yeah. And when I realized something for myself that was is profoundly simple. I love profoundly simple because simple can be really profound. I have wanted to complicate reality so often. And when we come to the simple truth of this, when I felt broken, I acted broken in the world.
Oh,
When I understood my inner wholeness and perfection, I began to be that way in the world. So it became really simple. I caused harm to myself and others, but only when I believed I was broken. So adding to that
how
isn't going to
beautiful.
shift that, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
And so, yes, I need to quote unquote clean up the past or make amends for my behavior. All of that is important. When I'm doing it from a place of wholeness and the infinite being that I am, I start to create possibility. And we can have that same conversation about the seeming division in the country and in the world. When I know the inner perfection that I am, I have more love and
You
compassion for
live
other
up
people
to or
wherever they
down to whatever people teach you you are. If you truly believe you are God's full and perfect child, that's who you will live up to being.
That's right. And when children are seen as that, they thrive.
Yes.
It's so simple, isn't it? It's almost like we could say one line and end the show.
Yes.
You are a spark of divinity. The end.
Yes. But that is true though, TJ. It really is true.
Yeah, and it's not an intellectual concept. It is
No,
something
it's
to embody
true.
and be. Yeah,
I mean, it's as if we spend so much time beating people down. And if only we spent so much time lifting people up.
well, and here's the key because what you're saying is so important. Of course, I can't lift someone else up when I feel damaged, broken, or unworthy. I
No,
will only be able to tear them down ultimately because I can only provide another what I believe is true about me. So that's why I love that Lao Tzu quote. The greatest gift I can offer the world is my own transformation. That's what I offer to clinicians. The greatest gift I can offer my clients is my own healing. It may be the only thing I need to do.
my spirit guide, who is my boss,
Mhm.
insists that I end each of my programs telling people how beautiful and how perfect they are.
That's right.
He's the one who insists on that. In the beginning, I didn't believe it myself, but now I believe it perfectly whenever I say it. It's true.
Yeah.
Each of us is whole and perfect already. It's our job to live up to who we already are. I
And
believe.
that's where you and I really connect because I'm guessing we have different opinions or points of view. We live in different parts of the country. I'm sure we could find plenty of reasons, Roberta, that you and I should not be connected the way we are. When we connect at that level, then we can be curious, right? Because I think really the key to all of this, including what's happening with the seeming division, is curiosity. Let me actually genuinely hear someone. Let me ask you who you are. What makes you come alive? Why do you decide the things you do? When we connect at this soul level of inner perfection, the rest is just like icing on the cake. But if the bread is stale and we're putting icing on it and calling it cake, that's something different.
Yeah, yeah. But I tell everyone you are a perfect eternal being. You never were ever less than that. And your job is just to go deep and understand how perfectly true that is,
Yeah.
and then soar.
Yes.
And
And
I've had people tell me who listen to this program that they're beginning to understand how true that is about themselves. And
well,
that makes my day. I can't tell you how that makes my day to hear someone say that.
yeah, because that's what feeds us, right? Being of that type of purpose on planet Earth. I think about my first mentor and spiritual teacher, Mary Helen. She made her transition in 1998. She saw something in me. She saw that perfection, Roberta, that I didn't think I had access
Yeah,
to, or I thought I had lost access to, which I now know isn't true. It's always there, but I had all these layers of shame and blame and guilt and
yeah,
not good enough and all the things that I had done. And she saw through that. And
yeah,
in her seeing through that, I had an awakening. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, maybe that is the truth of who I am. And
yeah.
then everything changed.
That's true. That's true about each of us. That's who each of us is.
That's right.
And our jobs through these lives, from the time we're born, is just to carve away all the not perfect parts because they're not really us.
That's right. And they're not even ours most of the time, right? It was like
No, no,
generational. It was someone else. It was my second grade teacher. It was, all the things that we put on top of it. And then we come to realize that there's this beautiful light. And when I know that for me, of course, I see that in you. And when I see that in you, I know that more for me. And then we're on this beautiful upward spiral of knowing
right?
who we really are.
In the perfect joy that is really our birthright. No, that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's why and I enjoy talking with you so much. And that's why I enjoy sharing you with everybody that's listening now. But do you find that it helps when you get people who are addicted to really focus on this in themselves, on the fact that this is who they truly are? Does it help them?
Oh, it's a quantum moment. And all I mean by a quantum moment is it's not a process of like we're going to do these little incremental steps of recovery. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a flash of insight. And it's
Great.
not a thought. That's the key. It's
Oh,
not
no,
because
it's
it's
internal. Right.
right. It's an internal shift, and it's not me giving them something. It's them remembering who they are. And in that
Yes.
moment of remembering, it's like, oh, then I can do some of the healing work of healing the trauma and the past and the issues with
Right.
mom and dad and the divorce and the pain and the abuse, because that's all real. We never want to minimize that when I start with knowing who and what I am, not as a concept or an idea, but a true knowing, then I say, oh, I have the power to heal that, to look at that. There's a story, I think Pema Chodron tells it in one of her books, of two young girls, and one of them was having a nightmare every single night. A monster was chasing her, and it was one of those dreams where she was running down the hallway and the doors wouldn't open. And every night she runs and she's telling her friend, I don't know what to do. And her friend says, well, what does the monster look like? And the other girl says, I don't know. I'm afraid to look. So we know where the story's going. She goes into the dream the next night and she's running and she hears her friend's voice. What does the monster look like? And she just trembling with fear turns with the courage to look at the monster. And the next day she's telling her friend, I finally looked at the monster and it was hideous and horrible and scary. Then the dreams never came back, right? When we have the courage to take a look, but if I feel damaged, broken, insignificant, or something's wrong with me, I don't have that courage. And to me, that's
Right.
really the essence of recovery with conscious recovery. I have the inner strength to take a look at the monster and it loses its power over me.
Right. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Yes, thank you, Pema Chodron. I love her.
Quite wonderful. But aren't you good to be doing this for these people? What
You know,
beautiful work you're doing.
I really appreciate that you say that. And the truth is, I believe, my experience has shown me that true satisfaction comes from helping others. Just what you said earlier, to see someone understand who they really are and that light comes on or that light
Yes.
comes back.
Isn't it a
There is
trip?
Right. There is nothing more rewarding than that. So I think it may sound noble that I do this work to help others. The
Oh
truth
no, it's
is,
such a
it
trip.
feeds
I
my
totally get
soul.
it.
Yes.
Oh, I love that feeling so much.
Yes. So there's nothing I'd rather do than this. I remember there was a period of time that I won't bore you with the details, but I took a job serving. I was a server. I'd gone back to school and I was waiting tables. And I remember the bartender at this restaurant was saying, "Tell me about your world." And I said, "Well, my greatest passion is working with people with addiction." "Oh, really?" And I told him what it was all about. And he said, "Why on earth would anyone do that? I can make more money just pouring someone a glass of wine." And I thought, well, yes, I get that, but all I can say is
Not
it
about the
feeds
money at
my soul.
all. Life is not
Yes,
about the money.
that's right. Although the money does come when we're living on purpose in a beautiful way, our needs are taken care of.
You get
I've
enough.
always known that.
All you need is a dollar more than enough.
That's right.
And you have plenty. Is what I've discovered. Is
That's
that
right.
exactly right?
Yeah, when I unplug from, and that's really my book, Conscious Creation, as we talked about, when I unplug from thinking I need to manifest in order to be happy and focus on the happiness that I am, the greatest paradox happens. Suddenly, all the conditions of my life show up to support the vision. But when I
Exactly.
think I need to have more, I'm automatically in this my whole body tightens up because I feel like I don't have what I need.
That's right. That's right. Oh, life is so wonderful.
Isn't
All the
that true?
details of life are so wonderful. That's the thing that the people who worry don't understand that.
Yeah,
You don't have to worry about anything. All you have to do is live your truth for other people. When you're living your truth for other people, everything happens for the good all around you. And you get to watch it happen and you get to live in it and you get to enjoy it for everybody else. It's so
yeah.
terrific.
It's so terrific, and again, the greatest paradox is then I have more love than I've ever imagined. I get to contribute, and being a contributor to the world at
Mhm.
the level of consciousness and at the level of love is just so rewarding and so fulfilling. I
Mhm.
just every day when I wake up, someone asked me this recently, well, what's your morning routine? And I start with I wake up and I say, thank you. Life is so beautiful, and I am
Mhm.
so grateful I get another day in this lifetime. How can I serve? How can I be of service
Oh,
today? And not from a place, again, not from a place of like, oh, I just want to be so good that I want to serve the world. No, I feel so energized and filled with love the more I give. The more I give, the more I receive. And it's a beautiful way to live. I don't always remember that. I have days where I'm like, I don't want to give. I just want to stay here but then I start to feel what happens in my soul. And I'm like, oh no, knowing that I am love and I'm here to share it is so much more rewarding.
I have such a long gratitude list. It takes me a while to get through it all. And it's different stuff every day. And there's so much to be thankful for.
It's true.
And sometimes it's stuff that when it happened, I thought, I'm sure I'll be grateful for this, but I'm not sure why. And it turns out there's always a why.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we can also be the frequency of gratitude regardless of what is happening, right?
Mhm.
And I think
That's
that's
true and
really,
so important to know.
yeah. And that's really, I think, what our opportunity is during this seeming division that's happening in our country and in the world. Can I be a voice? A lighthouse doesn't go looking for boats to save, it just stands there shining. Right.
Hmm.
And to be able to shine in the midst of this seeming division, because when I sit down and talk with people, my dad and his wife, they joke that I live in LA and they joke that they live in LA, Lower Alabama. And when they came to visit this LA, Los Angeles, my stepmother, who I absolutely adore, said,
Yeah.
people are so kind here. That's not what I was told it would be. The people in Alabama told me people in LA were going to be, and she had all these ideas, right? And I said, well, if we were to walk around Los Angeles and say, tell me what you think about Lower Alabama, I'm sure we'd hear judgment too. So let's suspend some of this judgment and look for the love in the midst of this. Look for, I think Mr. Rogers' mother said, in an emergency, look for the helpers. In tragedy, look for the people who are helping. And I'll just say, let's be that. Not from this place of like, oh my gosh, I need to be a martyr and save the world, but from a place of I have something to share that feeds me and that is a different narrative and a different frequency than all these ideas of good, bad, right, wrong, us and them.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've got each of us has enough love to encompass the world in your love.
That's right.
There's no limit to how much love you have. That's one thing I learned that kind of surprised me. You can make your love big enough. I've experimented with that.
Mm.
The love you have, you can make it big enough to stretch to cover the whole world. Have
Yeah.
you ever done that experiment?
Oh,
You
yeah. That's
can
a
make it big
beautiful,
enough.
yep. Imagine it spreading outward and filling up
Yeah,
the entire world. And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and
You
then,
can
and
make
then,
it stretch all over Africa, and then you can make it go
yeah,
all over Europe. You can get it all. I have friends on all the continents, personal friends. So, it's easy to make it stretch where they are because I love those people. And, it's Serbia, all these places where I
yeah.
already know people that I love. So easy to get. Even over the poles. I don't know any people there yet, but I will.
That you know of. You might know them.
No, I'm sorry for people who haven't experimented with what love can do because there's no limit to what love can do.
Yeah.
Jesus said this, and
Yeah.
I don't know if he did a lot of experimenting with love, but maybe he did. But it's true. You can make love stretch infinitely, and the more you do that, the stretchier you make your own love, the bigger it gets, and the more fun you can have with it.
Yeah.
It's it's quite amazing.
And
And
then
it's
we arrive at a place where whatever the question, the answer is love. And
always love.
I've said that, and people are like, "Come on, come on, well, give me an example," right? So, child abuse, the answer is love, right? The answer is to
Oh, that's an easy one. The answer is love.
right, but I mean, people give examples of what's happening, and the answer is love, and yet we can so easily slip into fear. And we've all heard, or many of us have heard, everything is love or fear. But when I heard someone say everything is love or a request for love, then I started looking for the request. It's not always conscious, but in the midst of anything happening, there's always a request for love.
Right.
And to be curious about that request, and that's really what I do. I don't really do a lot of direct work with clients anymore. I work with the clinicians, but when we're holding the space to invite them to look at what's the request from love from this client who is in an addiction or trying to heal trauma or coming to us with some horrific life experiences, what's the request for love in the midst of that, and how can I be that for them? That is such a foundational part of the healing process. Then we do a lot of this other healing work that's necessary in recovery. But when we start with that, everything changes.
I don't know why people make it hard when it's so easy. Partly because it's easy, partly because the more you use that muscle, that love muscle, the happier it makes you. Why not do something that makes you so absurdly happy?
Yeah.
Be ridiculously happy all the time.
Well, it's interesting. Some people, myself included, at some points in my life, I didn't feel like I deserved happiness or love. And
Oh
so
my goodness. Yeah, that's
because
too bad.
I know, and it was, right? And I love what Dr. Sue Morter says. She says, life is difficult and a challenge until it's not. And that until it's not moment for me took many, many years to come to, oh, wow, not only am I worthy of love, but it's who I am. Not only this is really who I've come here to be. And that felt sense of unworthiness might be even at the root of what we see with the divisiveness.
Yeah.
There's an unconscious I don't deserve and I'm not worthy that gets externalized. And for all of us to know who we really are, as we've said multiple times, would change everything and can change everything and does change everything in an instant.
Our job, you and I have a job, and it's a sacred one. Our job is to spread love in the world. I mean, it's a serious job. Well, not that serious. It's actually a joyous job,
It's a
but
really
that's,
fun job, that's for sure.
yeah, it
You know, they
sure
say do
is.
what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Yes, my job
Absolutely.
is spreading love. Thank you. That's my new job description for anything I do. Thank you,
Me
Roberta.
too.
I love it.
Oh, I love you dearly, my
I
friend.
love you dearly as
We
well.
have
Thanks for
so run
you.
over our time. It's not, I won't even have time to say properly say goodbye to everybody today. But I'm so glad because I just have loved talking to you. I always do. Wait, what do you want people to take away today?
You know, it's the same or a variation on the theme that you want to leave people with, and that is if no one has told you yet today, you are a whole and perfect being. You came into the world as a spark of divinity, and that's the truth of who and what you are. So keep shining, be in the world, radiate that love, and see what happens because life is a great experiment.
It certainly is, but it's a joyous one. Well, I will be right back, my dear. I just wanted to tell everybody that I love them. We will be right back. Oh, my dear friends, I'm so glad you could be with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end, and that's the truth. And when you get that, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be another very dear friend of mine, Sandra Champlain. She'll be with us for the 18th time. Sandra works closely with George Noory. She does a weekend Sunday gathering with medium demonstrations, and her wonderful book, We Don't Die, is a perennial bestseller. Whenever I go to Massachusetts, where I'll be in just a couple of weeks, I always have lunch with her, and we just spend 2 hours laughing and sharing stories. So that's going to be fun. I think that, you probably ought to spend time with Sandra if you have a little time on Sundays. And so just go to, I think it's We Don't Die or whatever. Just Google Sandra Champlain, and you'll be able to find her Sunday gatherings. And because she's really a lot of fun to be with, even if it's just online. And she'll be fun next week when we get together. So please be sure to join us. And this week we've been talking with TJ Woodward, who, as you can see, is just a ray of sun. He's just wonderful. He's been with us for the seventh time, and he's one of those people who's kind of, as I say, a public intellectual. I always enjoy talking with him, and he makes the hard concepts look so easy. He really does make a tremendous difference for people who are addicted because he has done so much work in this field in helping to understand why people are addicted and how to really help them to make a difference in their own lives and empowering them. His first book was called Conscious Being, Awakening to Your True Nature. His second book was Conscious Recovery, A Fresh Perspective on Addiction. His third book was Conscious Creation, 5 Steps to Embracing the Life of Your Dreams. And we'll have him back again sooner this time because frankly, I love his company. My lovely friend TJ cares so much about other people. And this is all the time we have. So once again, my very wonderful friends, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all, in all reality, in this entire universe, in everywhere, you are infinitely, eternally, and powerfully loved.